Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of A Writer's Life. I'm your host, Dana Wayne, and today's show is a little different in a couple of ways. First of all, this is my very first video podcast, so anything can happen. We'll just hope it all works out right. And secondly, I'm delighted to have a very special guest today, the wonderfully talented Maida Mobley, whom I met a couple of years ago through Lone Star Literary Life book blog tour. And we've been virtual friends ever since. So welcome, Maida, to today's show. I'm delighted to have you here.
Hi, Dana. Good morning. Good morning to your listeners and viewers. Thank you for inviting me to share this episode of A Writer's Life with you.
Thank you. It's going to be fun. Everything is going to work perfect. We know that. Let's start off by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself. I love your laugh, by the way. You're always so happy.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a Filipino-American writer of multicultural romance, contemporary. I write with the Filipinos or Filipino-Americans as main characters in the book. And for my first series, they're set mainly outside of the U.S., international locations where I lived and worked in the past, and so I know a lot about them. And they're some of my favorite places in the world.
Cool. So, you've got to travel a lot. That's great. Now,
I did.
Now, you mentioned your Filipino heritage now, and that your characters are Filipino. So I'm assuming that all comes into play in your writing.
Yes. As you know, when you start writing, they always tell you to write what you know. And there's also when I began writing, there's also an absence almost of Filipino main characters in romance. There were some books that have them as best friends, or
but never the main characters.
Yes, never the main characters, and it's the same in movies or TV shows. So as a Filipino, that's something that I'm missing and I'm not being able to relate to, because we have there's a lot of romance, lots of storylines in Filipinos and in other ethnic groups. So it's like, I'm Filipino, I might as well write about
exactly. I think
myself.
That's awesome. I think that's awesome. Put yourself there. That's right.
Yes.
Now, how would you describe your particular writing style? Is it sweet, sassy, steamy, somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, it's sweet and steamy. That's something that you can describe it as. But one of the first, they're open doors.
Okay.
There's it's not explicit, but there are
there's a little heat in there.
so
There's a little heat in there.
Yeah,
that's what I tell people. There's
exactly.
a little heat in there.
Yeah, yes, exactly right. And there's
that's as good as any, right? Great story, a little bit of heat, all the things that you need to make for a satisfying read.
Yes, because that's how it is. And that's also my story. A bit of
a little bit of heat there too.
Heat there too.
So, what are you working on right now, and what's in the future for you?
So, this is funny to describe because we say it's book 3. But it's because it features the third couple in my series, but it's actually the 6th title that I'm writing in terms of it's 6th title but it's book 3. So it's called Samui Heat, which is the third couple in my series. The third and final until I have a spin-off. So I have
until another character says, Maida,
yes,
Maida, you have to tell my story.
yes. Sometimes they do that. So I started writing it with the idea of having three brothers finding love in Southeast Asia, where they all assigned to, and their love interests are friends. Actually, they're their group, there's squad of Filipino friends. And so it happens that they
the friends to lovers trope.
Yeah, the brothers.
Yeah.
Nicely quiet. They paired up with brothers who are Irish Americans. And so the first couple was Blake and Krista. So Blake is CEO of a multinational corporation. Krista is finance manager there in the same company. And the second is about Maddie and Aiden. So Maddie is Krista's best friend. Aiden is Blake's brother. Aiden is U.S. Air Force officer, and he's assigned in Singapore. And Maddie is also working in Singapore. And the last couple are Craig and Angela. So Angela is the third friend, and Craig is the youngest brother. So this series, the first series, Carpe Diem Chronicles, is about the three couples. So in between, there are stories like the first book, Boracay Vows. It has sequel, which was New York Engagement, and it's still about Blake and Krista. And then I wrote Singapore Flings about Maddie and Aiden, and I wrote a prequel to it, which is called Global City Twist. So my titles, as if you would notice, are all about where the book is looking. So if the events happen outside of the book, they're not in the book. So I have to write different stories.
So okay, I got you. Now, the romance industry as a whole is probably one of the hottest markets out there.
Huge,
no pun intended.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's just like ridiculous how much money is generated, and it's worldwide. It's not like just the U.S. or Australia. It's worldwide. Why do you think the genre is so popular?
Because it's the way that the stories have a happy ending. If not happy ending, totally close the story, happily ever after. How it's with
right
else, and or it's happy for now. There's like a hopeful resolution to the story that resonates among the people in terms of finding escape away from their problems, and also having their lives represented in books that are more or gentler or more hopeful, more positive than what they're probably experiencing right now. So it's something that really takes them away from daily
from everything. There's so much there's so much negativity right now that
exactly.
I think that underlying message of hope and everything's going to be okay. I think that's important.
Yeah, exactly, because there might be conflict. Of course, there are problems. They keeps the conflict that keeps the couple apart. But at the end of the day, that they're going to get together, and there's going to be
when you said conflict, it made me think of this scene that I was writing the other day, and I had to. the couple was together, but I had to break them apart.
Yes.
And I was like, it was so hard to write it because I didn't want to mess up, what they had worked so hard to get to this point. And now all of a sudden I got to throw a monkey wrench in there and split them up. And and that was like, no, I don't want to do that. I literally had to walk away and then come back to it.
That happened to me too, and I cry whenever I have to do that because it can't just, if there's not a problem, it's also not realistic.
That's right.
But at the same time, there's also that promise that they're going to get back together, and
that's what you have to kind of focus on whenever you're sitting there, and she has to tell him, I can't see you anymore, or he has to say, well, I have a secret that you're not gonna like, and I'm like, oh man.
Why?
But it's like they said, no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader.
Yes, no, it's the same. The book that I'm working on. It's a bit heavy, so I'm trying to balance the heavy because he lost his girlfriend in the wildfire in California. That's why he moved to Thailand to bring her ashes to her family back, and so that's how he meets this new woman, Angela, after a year that he's been there. And so it's and she's sunshine to his grump because after 1 year of losing his girlfriend, he's still in a way grieving, but also guilty of forgetting if he's going to fall in love. You know how it goes. So
exactly, but it's so realistic. It's and that's the point that I think is another reason why I think romance itself is so popular, is that regardless of where you are in your life, there is a romance story, a genre, a sub-genre, and a trope that's going to match what you have. And it's something that you can identify with. Like, now everybody has their own taste with romance, and the genres and everything that's out there today is so huge, and it's growing all the time because our diverse culture that we hear. There's so many different genres and subgenres today that there's something out there for everybody, in every degree of sensuality, because everybody doesn't like the same thing. And I think that's really cool. I was at an event recently, and in fact the only one I've got to go to this year because of COVID, and a lady was intrigued by my book covers, and I started telling her a little bit about them, and I said, now there is a little bit of heat in them towards the end, but it's not all sex and stuff, the whole thing. And she says, well, that's really not my I said, that's okay, it's not for everybody. I said, but there's another friend of mine over here that has books that I think you're gonna love. And she did. She went over there and she bought some books because, like I said, not everybody likes what I write, but there's somebody that does. So.
And also, even the same reader, because some readers, they like a variety of books, of heat or situations, and sometimes at some points in their lives, they want something, and then it becomes, their tastes become different, or they're more willing to expand their reading horizon, if you may call it, if you may say that, having experienced something recently that might want to look into
exactly
this. Yeah, so even as a reader, we find ourselves changing taste.
Oh, I do all the time. If you saw my to be read shelf, you go, do you read everything? Well,
you have a shelf. I have a mountain.
I don't have mine. Hasn't quite hit the mountain stage yet. But the other day, my husband and I were in Longview, and he goes, "Do you want to make a stop by the bookstore?" And I'm like, "Duh."
You met me?
How long have we been married? And so I come home and I have all these books, and he goes, "What are you going to do with those?" I said, "They go on my to be read shelf." And he goes, "You're going to have to get another one. That one is too full." So I have a credenza beside my easy chair, and the top drawer is full of books. There's a stack of them on the end, and then there's a 4-shelf bookshelf in my bedroom. So I have some books that I don't get rid of. Do you have that? Do you have books that you don't get rid of?
I do. I have a lot of autographed books.
Yeah, I have those.
You know, from before.
Yeah.
When we would.
When we actually got to go out.
Yes. When we have to go out, when we can go out and meet the authors. Since 2017, I've been going to, you know, book signings as a reader, because I didn't publish until November 2017. So before
2017, I published my first book in 2016.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Just we're just still newbies in this.
We're still newbies. That's right.
I can't believe it. I thought you've been publishing since.
I've been writing for a long time, but I didn't publish my first book until after I retired. And I retired in the end of 2013, and I published my first book in 2016.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I do about one a year.
In 2016, and I published it in 2017.
Yeah.
A year later.
That was a good year, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, do you have a book? I'm getting off track here, but do you have a book that you've read more than once and that you'd read again?
Oh, I have a few of those from favorite authors, like Linda Howard's Sarah's Child. I read it.
I love that one.
Mother's Day. Have you read it?
Yes.
It was so.
I've read it. I've read probably everything she's ever written. My favorite book from her. My favorite book from her is Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, Mr. Perfect. I love that. It's so funny, and you know the female friendship, and so witty, and
I love that. I love the main characters. The dialogue is killer.
Right.
It is really killer.
I also read Lisa Claypass's Wallflower Christmas.
Yeah.
I know it's like a reunion novel.
I think I've read that one.
Yeah, it's.
You know, after a while they kind of all run together, but I still have my favorites that when I'm in the mood for this, I'll go pick
Sometimes,
one of those.
You know, because I read a lot of advanced copy for review, because I also read my blog, Carpe Diem Chronicles, and you know that's how we met.
Right.
I reviewed your book, but sometimes, there are times when I just want to go back to old favorites. You know, something that I read in the 90s or something. I always go back to Nora Roberts, or her other pen name, J.D. Robb. You know, whenever
the book fits the mood.
I give up on a book and think, I don't want to read this. I want to go back to the familiar, to the something that I know I really love.
Right.
It's not giving me problems, because I mean, there are tens of thousands of books that are published every year, and sometimes there are duds.
Exactly.
Not everything is good, or it's just, in my opinion, they don't resonate with me, or there's something about it that we didn't like. So,
I've had that too, you know, and it's really it's discouraging as a reader to kind of get amped up for something and then start it and go, oh man,
Yeah, be
I'm just having to
disappointed.
force myself to read it, and then I finally just have to put it down.
Yeah.
And
So, do you DNF or do not finish a book ever?
I try not to. There's probably
Yeah.
only been a couple that I just could not do. Now
Yeah.
I have gotten to a point, this, I have got to end this torture, and I'll go and read the last chapter and see, how it ends. And if I like if the ending is good, then I may go back and, just kind of backtrack a little bit. I have done that. And my husband's like, why are you doing that? You just ruined it. I said, no. I said, they lost me at this point.
Yeah.
They got me back at the ending. But so I want to go back and see, where the transition happened, because it's either slow, or the characters aren't very well developed, or the writing isn't tight. Something turns me off. But I really try if I start it, I try to finish it. But there's been a couple that no, can't do it. And I hate doing that, because I feel like it's, I'm deserting the writer as a, as a reader, that I have left the writer in the dust. But, the writer also has a responsibility to the reader to
True, yeah.
to keep
Even
that
though,
going.
we start writing for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
When we write the book, it's to write what we like to read.
That's really why I write like I do, is because, well, that's what I like to read. And my books they're not terribly long. They're 260, 270 pages, because I'm one of those people that I want to be able to start it and finish it on the same day.
Yes.
Now, you can't always.
I'm the same. My books are also quite short by.
Yeah, they're short. They're short by maybe contemporary standards.
Right.
But
right.
I'm 60, 70,000 words tops.
Exactly. And I can't. Sometimes I get impatient with the books I read, that they're. You don't have to describe what they're wearing every single scene. I don't need that information, because it doesn't advance the story.
That's right.
Why do I care? Just to have the words there, just to lengthen the book.
That's it. Sometimes less is more.
Exactly. If it's not something that affects the scene or the emotion, or doesn't move the story
Doesn't
forward,
move it along.
it doesn't have to be there.
That's like the word that. I have this thing with the word that. I use it a gazillion times.
Me too.
And then I'll do a word check or word find before I get, hit the end and say, all right, how many that's do I need to take out? Because, 9 times out of 10, you don't need it.
You don't need it. Yeah, my first draft of my first book, that was my editor's comment. That was my most overused word.
Well, I have one of my beta readers told me the other day, she kind of reads the story along as we go. Yeah. And she sent a critique back, and she says, you need to take your comma finger and break it. You just need to break that finger and quit using it. I said, well, Grammarly will take care of it when I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and commas. Terrible.
I'm stingy with my commas. And, Grammarly always asks me to put it. Except for the Oxford comma, I'm stingy. I don't put a comma before but and end.
Yeah.
Or. It's just it depends on the sentence. Like if it's a series, then I do the Oxford comma.
Yeah.
But if it's just like two ideas and I put an end, there doesn't have to be a comma before that.
Right. I just try to be consistent. If I'm wrong, I'm going to be consistently wrong. Now, let's see. We were talking about writing, and have you ever had people say something to the effect of, "Oh, writing is easy"?
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
All it is putting words together. No.
No, it's and then editing is also hard.
Mm-hmm. You know, putting the words in is hard. Taking them out is even harder.
Uh, I mean, a lot of people think, and even other writers, so they think it's easy until they have to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's no, it's not just putting together words.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be depth to it.
There
Has
has.
to be,
Mhm.
yeah, and it has to be correct grammar.
Right. Well, unless you're, you know, except in dialogue. You know, if it's in dialogue, you can get away with
Yeah,
it. But,
yeah,
you know, stringing words together is one thing, but stringing them together to paint a picture or tell a story or,
yeah,
you know, relay the events of what's happening to the extent that the reader can see it. That's what you want to do. You know, again, too much sometimes is too much, but you want to find that fine line between just right and overdone.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that's a trick. That's a trick.
Yes, and it can go sometimes it's inconsistent and it doesn't go well all the time.
Mm-mm.
And you know, you have to work at it. You have to learn also,
And there's always something to learn. I don't care how many books you've
exactly,
published,
exactly.
how prolific a writer you are. There's all when you get to the point that you think I know all there is to know and I don't need to learn anything else, you need to change professions.
Nah,
In my humble opinion.
There's in nowhere, no job that there's not anything.
There's
new
always
that
something
you
to
have
learn.
There's always something.
There's all.
And
Yeah.
even that's also consideration in writing because especially contemporary
Mm-hmm.
because even though we're trying to have the reader escape from the world, you can't really totally put everything away that's happening in the world.
Right.
I'm not going to put the recent pandemic in my
No.
story.
I'm not either.
It's gonna happen, but still there are things in the world that are happening in technology. You have to put them in the story, and some aspects of interpersonal relationships, international politics that will affect the way that you write and
Right.
the way that the characters interact or the news would filter in. So and all this, you have a responsibility to not to hurt anybody,
Right.
With your books, because there are some content that would hurt people, like
Right.
exclude them or some words that you use that are especially I
Offensive.
don't want to say hurtful again, but
Right.
that are that will resonate negatively for some people.
Right.
So you have to put all of these things in consideration when you write. And if you're insensitive or you're not in tune with your readers, that's going to come back to bite you in terms of reviews and lack of sales.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to find, how much to put it, how much of current events do you want to include?
Yeah.
And, I'm just like, I can hear all about that on the nightly news. When I'm reading for enjoyment, for entertainment, and I don't need all that. If I need to, you want to add a little bit now and then for a dose of flavor or something that needs to set the scene or to set the time frame, that's one thing. But to just dwell on it, nah. Move on.
And it's also going to find itself in dialogues or whatever. But that's true.
Yeah.
And you also can't get to political in the books because again that's something that readers escape from. They if they enjoy those kinds of topics, then they should search nonfiction or news or something like that. But
current events, exactly.
it's not something that they want light, they want fluffy,
Mhm.
and it's
That's it. And
yes,
that the other thing about writing today too is that as a writer, like I'm an indie author, so I have to do everything.
yes, me too.
And it we do the marketing, we do the well I have someone that does editing and stuff for me, but still the rest of it is all your responsibility, and that's hard.
It
It's
is. It is. Yes. It's not. I mean that easy. I mean the technical parts of it, like uploading to
Mhm.
um to Amazon or to Kobo, they're they're easily learned. But
Well, I
all
found somebody to
everything,
do that for me.
there's
I could
so
be a bit
many.
of I'm kind of technically challenged sometimes. I'm a clicker. I get in there and start clicking buttons, and next thing you know, I've done messed everything up, and I'm like, that's too much sugar for a dime, so I'm going to get somebody else to do it for me. So I send it to her, and she takes care of all that. It's
Yes.
so
And if only you could just write, just
that's all I want to.
write.
I
But
just want to
no, we
write.
can't just write.
I just
You
want to
have to
write.
do thousand little things to it.
Well, speaking of doing a lot of other different things, now you not only write terrific romances, but you have some other things you're doing too. You have a blog, and you
Yeah.
do a column for Lone Star. Tell us about that.
Oh yes. So Lone Star Literary Life has gave me this opportunity to promote romance every month. So I feature each, a couple of books that are new and upcoming, um, which by Texas authors or set in Texas, or they have characters who are from Texas. Because this is the Texas Reads Roundup Romance, so it's all about Texas.
Cool.
Lone Star Literary Life. So
Yeah.
it's our home state. So this is what we celebrate. And yeah, so I have that regularly, which it's a huge state, and we have thousands of stories, whether historical or contemporary, or even paranormal. We have hundreds and thousands of talented writers on
Yes,
this
we do.
list. And so, yeah, we like to celebrate that in Lone Star Literary Life.
Cool. You are a very busy lady. I don't know how you find time to write when you're
You
doing all that other
too.
too. Sometimes you just it's like my husband said one day. He said it's like a job. Writing is like a job, and
It is.
you
a
have to treat it that
full-time
way.
job. Yeah.
You have to treat it that way.
That is my work. And I learned that from Nora Roberts. That's her job. She
That's it.
works from 8 to
Whenever.
8 hours of the day, and just working on books. That's why she is such a prolific author. I mean, I can't do what she does.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness, like 300 books. 300, in her with her two pen names, and that's just incredible. But,
I have a lot of words in my head, but I don't think I have 300 books worth. So tell our listeners how they can get your books and how they can find out more about you.
Oh yes, my website is just mydamalby.com, and I'm on everywhere on social media. I have Facebook. I also Maida Malby. It's Carpe Diem Chronicles by Maida Malby. The same with Instagram, Carpe Diem Chronicles. I'm also on Twitter, Maida Malby. No underscore, just the names without space. I'm also on Pinterest.
Just
Carpe Diem
everywhere.
Chronicles.
She's everywhere. She's everywhere.
Remember, if you search for Carpe Diem Chronicles or my name, Maida Malby, everything will pop up. I have BookBub, Goodreads,
all of those.
on page.
Well,
so everywhere. But essentially, my my books are, they're on my website. I publish white, so I'm on Amazon, I'm on Kobo, I'm on Apple, I'm on Google Play. What else? Barnes and Noble.
all the little spots.
Yes, all the spots.
Wherever you shop, you can find Maida Malby's books.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being with me here today, Maida. I've enjoyed our little chat, and I appreciate you being the guinea pig for my first video podcast. And
thank you. It's such an honor. I'm the first guest.
Yeah. Well, yeah. See there? Cool, huh?
Yes.
Well, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed today's show and that you take a moment to check out Maida's work. You can find her at carpediemchronicles.com. Thank you for listening today. Now, if you have a subject that you would like me to take on one of these podcasts, just drop a comment or send me an email, and I'll be happy to see what I can do. If you're a Texas author and you'd like to be interviewed on my show, also drop me an email, danawayne423@gmail.com, or put a comment here, and we'll see what we can do. As always, your support is greatly appreciated. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future stories. And I'll be back soon with another episode of A Writer's Life. Till then, I'm Dana Wayne. Happy reading.